Okay, let's get started. I'm Bob Graham, and this is Acing the Job Interview. And you can see the contact information down there, SeriousSoftSkills.com and bob.graham at SeriousSoftSkills.com. And our phone number is 937-754-SKILLS5. That's skills and the number 5. So you'll have that available to you. Do a little logistics here. If you have questions, you can type them in the chat box to the right. We'll be checking those throughout the webinar, but I'm not sure we're going to answer them along the way. We tend to do better when we get to them towards the end. But certainly put your comments in there. We love to see those, and we will be tracking them. And I'm prone to sometimes interrupting myself to answer them. So I said my name was Bob Graham. Here's a little bit about me. I am a soft skills expert, which you'll learn more about in the next couple of minutes. I'm a co-founder of Serious Soft Skills. That's a company that helps organizations and individuals unleash the transformative power of soft skills in their careers. I'm also the co-host of the Serious Soft Skills podcast, which is available, I'm happy to say, on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Player FM, among others. So if you're a podcast fan, you can go look at our podcast. We release a new one every Wednesday, and we talk about soft skills, what they are, and how they work. I'm also the co-author of the 55 Soft Skills that Guide Employee and Organizational Success. And that book is the first of its kind to talk about the 55 soft skills, what they are, how they show up in work, and how we can use them to better equip ourselves to deal with the situations in work. So that's available on Amazon and also on our website at SeriousSoftSkills.com. So if that's of interest to you, you can certainly grab a copy of that. I think it retails for $11.99 right now. And a little more about me. I've been interviewed, I'm proud or embarrassed to say, more than 30 times in my career. I tend to be someone who goes from job to job. I've had jobs for as few as 6 months and jobs for as much as 6.5 years. But over the course of my career, I've been interviewed a number of times. I'm not afraid to be interviewed if something sparks my interest. And I didn't always get those jobs. I've also run job searches, big and small. I worked for a university where I led a faculty job search, and I've worked at smaller companies where we were hiring everything from newspaper reporters to front desk people. So I have a pretty good feel for job searches and what interviewers are looking for. I also, throughout my career, have written resumes and cover letters professionally for people. I started that my senior year of college and did it for about 6 months. And when I say writing resumes and cover letters professionally, I mean I was charging people as much as $400, $500, $600 to write their resume. I'd interview them, write the resume, and then if they asked for a cover letter, I'd write a cover letter, and that would cost them another $100, $200. And if you think of the prices, that was back in 1987 when gas prices were about $1 a gallon. So I would say that's professional resume writing. I've also helped hundreds of college students, undergraduates and graduates prepare for getting their first jobs. And by prepare, I mean everything from how to write a resume, how to write a cover letter, how to investigate a company that you want to work for, how to find job postings, how to interview, how to respond to interview questions, mock interviews. I've done a whole bunch of mock interviews. I actually taught a course for a university, Johns Hopkins University, where we would have students conduct mock interviews and grade them on that. And I've mentored hundreds of adults in a variety of careers, all the way from manufacturing up to CEOs of companies. I've mentored them on finding new jobs with everything, a lot of what I'm going to talk about today. So I think you can see that I've got a lot of experience and a lot of expertise. So it's probably good that you're here today. Here's a picture of me doing some actual training, and I show you this because I think it's nice to see me in action, and you can see the reactions of the people. The woman looking up at me because, yes, I'm 6 feet 6 inches tall, and she's sitting at a table. So yes, she is looking at a towering figure that is me. I'm about 3 feet taller than she is when she's sitting down. And then I like the expression of the woman to the right, who I can't decide, is she praying for the end of this seminar that I'm doing? Or is she praying that I don't call on her? Or is she just so deep in thought because I'm capturing such incredible insights that she can't let go of it? I'm not sure. But I give you that just to give you a sense of who and what I am. And so let's move on. Whoops. Hit the button too hard. Ooh, really hit it hard. Okay, there we go. Got back to where I wanted to be. This webinar is for you if you have had any trouble at all interviewing. Okay? And by interviewing and trouble, I mean, did you apply for an interview and not get it? Did you totally flub the interview, like you left and you thought, oh boy, that was the worst interview they've ever done. I can't believe, I don't know who that person was they talked to. Or if you're someone who doesn't know what to say or how to answer questions in an interview, like you don't know if you should say yes or no, or if you just blew it. Or if you're someone who, when you interview, gets more stressed out or nervous than average. I mean, interviewing is stressful. I get that. I get stressed too, and I've done a lot of them, like I said. And I also get a little nervous. But there's stress and nervous that's rational, and then there's out of control, like you're practically paralyzed, can't sleep the night before. Or if you went to an interview and you're sure that you said all the wrong things. Or, and here's the big one, if you didn't get the offer. And I'm going to propose to you that my view of interviewing and getting into the job process is, if I don't get offered the job, it's a failure to me. There's only one answer to the question, which is you want to hire Bob. And I've believed that for a number of years. I'm in it to win it. And hopefully with what I'm about to share with you, you're going to be in it to win it and have that confidence, because I think part of what gets you into a good situation with job situation or with hiring committees is when you actually look like you're ready and confident about who and what you are and what you can bring to them. So I do want to mention there's going to be a bonus at the end of this presentation. I'm going to make a great offer that's going to make your job search and interviewing and the whole process a whole lot easier. So you want to stick with me until the end to get this one-time offer. I mean, it's going to be available today and that's it. So you've got that to look forward to. So hopefully at this point you are realizing I've got some value to provide. I would encourage you to turn off your cell phones and turn off your computer and any music you have playing. If there are people around and you can shut them out with the door or some other way, get completely free, because I want to give you some really important stuff to think about. I want you to really absorb this information. We're talking about your career here. There's nothing more important to me than my career. And that's why I'm doing this seminar, this webinar. I want you to understand these things. I want you to succeed in your career. And I want to make that possible for you. So if you're distracted by other things, turn them off. This is important enough. This is your life and death here, because we spend a lot of time at our jobs, 40 plus hours a week. Next to sleep, it's the most important and most time-consuming aspect of our lives. In some cases, probably more so than sleep, depending on how you engage yourself during your days. But this is really big stuff, so make sure you're with me here. I don't want to lose you. You might also want to grab a sheet of paper and a pencil or pen, because I think you're going to want to take some notes, okay? And, whoops, I keep hitting the button. The button is not working for me. There we go. Sorry about that. So before we begin, are there any questions or technical issues? Hopefully you can hear me. If you can hear me, write yes down in the right side. If you're having issues, let's hear about them now. I'm giving you a second. No, I got a couple of yeses. Okay, yes, loud and clear. Great, then let's get started. Here we go. Okay, we're talking about acing the job interview, and I'm going to talk to you about 3 different parts of acing the job interview. I've broken it down into 3 parts. Okay, the first one is thinking like the person or people who are doing the hiring. The second one is my phrasing, becoming checkbox friendly. And I'll explain what that means in a second. And third, tips for preparation and executing the perfect interview. And yes, this is, I mean that word executing, and we'll talk about that, but I mean you really have to prepare for a job interview and you have to execute it. When we talk about executing something, it's implementing a plan. And that's what I want to talk through with you today as we go through this, okay? So let's start with thinking like the person or people hiring. I am amazed at how many people have never thought about the role of the person doing the hiring. So I want to take a couple of minutes and sort of let you in on the world of hiring from the person who does the hiring. But before I tell you that, why don't you give me in the chat box to the right your thoughts about what the interviewer is thinking as he or she is interviewing you. Okay, so you've come into their office or you're sitting at a conference room table, and that person, you've introduced yourself, they've introduced themselves, and they've asked you the first question. What do you think they're thinking? Okay? Give you a couple more seconds to answer that question. There's no quiz here, so you can just put whatever you're thinking. What is that interviewer thinking? And maybe some of the people here have actually done interviews, and you can share with us what you were thinking. Please keep it clean. Okay, I'm going to go, and here are some of the most frequent things that when I was interviewing, was thinking as I was doing an interview, like as the person was talking. Another interview, I have work to do, because keep in mind, that person who's doing the interview often has had an employee who left the job. They gave their 2 weeks notice and they couldn't fill the job as quickly as 2 weeks. So that person's probably filling in and having to do extra work. So if you think about this, the worst time in the world to be doing interviews is when you're short-staffed. Yet that's often what happens. Okay? Next one, we need someone fast. We're so far behind. Same idea, right? We're getting behind because we're missing a person who makes a valuable contribution. Another one, is what this person is saying actually true, or are they slinging lies to get hired? I can't tell you how many times I've heard someone tell a story or just share something about their career, and it just seemed impossible. One person described a sales increase of 800% over 6 months. That's just hard to believe. And, they kept talking about it. It's like, okay, whatever. Another thing I've thought often, especially if it's a Friday and we were doing 6, 7, 8 interviews, how many more interviews do we have today, this week? Which leads to the next one. I don't care who we hire. We just need to hire someone. And then, of course, this is a sad reality. I already miss, and it could be Angela or Trudy or Tim or whoever that person was who left the job. And then my personal favorite, if it was about 9:30, 10, 10:15 in the morning, what's for lunch? Or what am I doing for dinner tonight? Or who's playing in the football game Sunday night? Whatever it is. So my point here is that interviewers are easily distracted during the process. And I think one of the things that we have to acknowledge about interviewers is they are not totally focused on you. We think that because they've asked us to come in and be interviewed, that all they should be caring about is us. But the reality is they have their own lives. We all have our own lives. So to think that that person is hanging on your every word is just unrealistic and ineffective. So I wanted to get that across, and I think I've done it with these quotes. And I'm sure I see over here in the chat room, some of you got things similar. Some of you were much more focused on the task of who to hire. I will tell you that in many cases would be secondary when I was doing interviews, especially if we had lots of really bad candidates, which happened way more than I'd like to admit. So why this matters? Here's where the rubber meets the road with this. If you're answering their questions yes or no, so if they ask you, did you like college? Or did you like working for this company? And you say yes, you are really going to annoy them. That's not what they want. They're looking to get to know you. They want to understand you. So you want to give them information. So whatever they ask you, you want to provide some information. On the other end, long answers, like, what was the question again? Will bore and or frustrate them. And nothing is worse than when the person says, did I answer your question with that? Or did I tell you enough? Or what was the question again? Those are real signs that this is not going well at all. So if those are in your vocabulary when you're in interviews, get rid of them now. Saying things that don't really matter will really upset the interviewer or interviewers. I had someone explaining to me one time they were interviewing and they worked at a camp, and they were explaining how the camp was up in the mountains and they had cut it away. The Civilian Conservation Corps had done this back in the 1930s. It's like, who cares? But they spent so much time giving us detail about the surrounding that we never really understood what they were telling us about their career that was useful to us. And then saying the same stuff as other applicants is going to hurt you. If you're an interviewer and you hear the same stuff over and over and over, like anyone, we start not to pay attention. So if you're saying the same stuff as other people, that's not good. You want to stand out. You want to be exceptional. And we'll talk more about that as we go. Am I making sense so far? If so, write in the chat box Y for yes or N for no. I'll give you a couple seconds. I know I just said no, yes, no answers. I'm asking you to put Y and N. I do see the irony. Yes, yes. Okay, good. Got a couple yeses. I'm going to keep going. So this begs the question, what does the interviewer need from you? So you can type the answer in on the side in that chat box. Go ahead. What does the interviewer need from you? You may have never thought about this. I'm amazed when I've worked with students and other people that they haven't thought about what the interviewer really needs to do their job. You know, interviewing someone, that's a job to do. It's a task like taking out the trash or planning an event. You can't just skip it, and you can't fake it. You've got to be dedicated to it. So what does that interviewer need? I see some good answers there. Okay. Yep. Some of you look like you're on the right track. Yep. So the interviewer needs a clear choice. Okay? A clear choice that they don't have to worry about. Nothing is worse than when you have to go home and think, did I make the right choice? It's so much better when you feel really good about your choice. Like, oh, this was a slam dunk. This person's going to be amazing. I can't wait to start working with them. And then the third component is they need someone that they can sell to whoever he or she has to. So I worked at a job where we did a hiring search. A group picked the person that we thought was the best candidate, and then we had to sell it to our boss, literally convince the boss that this was the right choice. So you want a person who's easy to sell. It's a political game sometimes. So you're looking for qualities that person's going to say, oh, wow, they went to a really good school. Or, oh, they work for that company. So think about those things in terms of your candidacy for a job. Are you someone who you make it easy for them not to worry about you? Worry about whether you're going to be a good fit. Worry about whether you're going to be able to do the work. Are you someone who makes them feel good about choosing you? And are you someone who's given them the information that makes it easy to sell you as the right candidate? Okay? Making sense so far, I hope? Good. Okay, let's go to the next component that I talked about, and that's becoming checkbox friendly. Okay, so I have found in the course of interviewing a number of people that there are certain checkboxes that the committee or the person hiring is trying to fill. Some of those checkboxes are technical skills. So there are things like, can the person type? Can the person use Excel? Are they good with internet? Are they customer service? If it's customer service job, are they polite? Are they nice? Are they friendly? Are they welcoming? And we develop that list. Now, I'm not saying it's a written list. It's often in our head, but there's a list. And we want to think about that list with respect to the hiring. So what does checkbox friendly mean to you? I gave you what it means to me. What do you think it is to you? Give you a couple seconds. Again, you can type your response in that chat box. I'm confusing checkbox and chat box. Sorry. In the chat box to the right. Okay, I'm getting some great answers here. Yeah, that your candidacy matches what they're looking for. Right, that's another way to say this, but I'm trying to break it down a little more because I think we have a list of things as Stan, sorry, it's scrolling quickly. As Stan said, the things that they're looking for that match what I'm providing. That's right. You can think of this as a list, right? A list of what they're looking for and what you offer. So when we talk about becoming checkbox friendly, it's I'm thinking checkbooks, but it's checkbox. We want to think first about the cover letter. Does your cover letter start making the case for them to hire you? Okay. We're not going to talk about cover letters much today, but I would say if you're thinking about your cover letter, does it make a strong case? And is it not just saying the same stuff as the resume? Because I can read the resume. I don't need to read the resume in the cover letter. It should be different. And the resume. Does the resume match the requirements? Does it use similar language? Does it convey that you've actually looked at the job announcement, the ad, and matched up your experience, your skills with what they're looking for? If you haven't done that, you're not helping yourself become checkbox friendly. And notice, this is going all the way back to the beginning. And then the interview where you really have a chance. Can you convey your passion for what they're doing? Because passion is one of those unwritten things that I would bet 99% of candidates that get hired for a position show some sort of passion. They care. And you may say, well, what does passion look like? Passion looks like me talking now and how I'm excited about what I'm doing and my voice is strong and I'm telling you information. You can't see this, but I'm moving my hands around. Now, let me tell you what's not passion. All right? So I'm clasping my hands. Not being passionate would be presenting a strong case. It's got to match the requirements. You know, you got to convey some passion. You just got to do it. I mean, that's the way it is. Notice the difference, right? And then, of course, the interview, you've got to share skills that apply to the new job. So you want to share what you have that matches your experience with what that new job is looking for. How transferable skills that you have, the soft skills that you have, can transfer. So, for instance, if you were able to go out and find new clients for your last job, and that's part of what the new job's looking for, you want to make sure you convey that in the interview so that they understand that you have that skill, and that skill can go with you from job to job to job. Yes, they're going to have to train you on their system and their products or their services, but you have the core skills that they're looking for. So that's what I mean about being checkbox friendly. Okay? Here's another way to look at it. Checkbox friendly means meeting all the requirements of the job posting. Okay? Literally meeting all those requirements. And then exceeding those requirements in important ways. Not just, well, I do one extra thing, but it's a really important thing that they may not have even thought about that you can do. For instance, I once applied to a job and went to the interview, and they were talking to me about what I would do. And I said, well, you know, in one of my other jobs, I actually was a spokesman where I was on TV and on the radio and did newspaper interviews all the time for this organization. And they said, really? Wow, would you want to do that for us? I said, sure. That wasn't part of the job requirement. That wasn't even in their list, but it was something that they hadn't even thought about, but I've done it and I brought it up and they jumped on it like, wow, that'd be really great. That's an extra thing. So I actually think about it. They had their checkbox. I actually added a box to their checkbox. And what's great about that checkbox, of course, I was the only one probably who brought it up and I was the only one who had that skill. So in that case, it's a win, right? It's a win for me and a win for them. Right? Whoops, my slide jumped again. And being checkbox friendly is about making the choice a no-brainer. Like, you're the best and only real candidate. And then it also is about, like I said earlier, making you an easy sell to the boss or colleagues. Right? Remember, if I do the hiring and people work with me, I'm responsible for that decision. I carry that. I have the weight of that. Whatever I do, I'm responsible. If that person doesn't work out, that's on me. I've been in that situation. I hired someone one time. It did not work out. I was the person who took the hit for that, not the person. They ended up getting fired. I was there for another couple years, and it was brought up each time we did the hiring. Well, Bob, I hope it's not like that again. Right? So you want to make sure you're an easy sell. So that checkbox friendly really has a value. Okay, the third one. So we've talked about thinking like the person or people doing the hiring. We've talked about becoming checkbox friendly. And now I want to talk about tips for the preparation and execution of the perfect interview. And I mean the perfect interview. My goal whenever I interview is to do the perfect interview. Like A++++, not a B, not a C, certainly not a D, but A+++, because that's how you get the job. So let's talk through that a little bit. First of all, why don't you write in the chat box for me how you prepare for an interview? Go ahead. I'll give you a couple seconds to type. You can write in that chat box. What do you do? While you do that, I'm going to take a little swig of my water here. Okay. All right, I'm getting some responses. I reread the job announcement. Good. I go to the company website. Good. I try to see if I know anyone who works for the company. That's what Monique said. Good idea, Monique. You're going to see something in a second that looks very familiar or similar. Okay. Keep writing them if you've got them. I'm going to go forward. First of all, as Monique demonstrated, you want to get to know the company. You can look at that job posting. You should know that job posting like the back of your hand. And don't tell me, oh, I applied to it 3 weeks ago and I didn't save it. You need to save that job posting. If you apply for a job, you better save that job posting because they're really hard to find. Sometimes they take them down when they get enough applicants and you can't find it anymore. So you want to literally save it. Save it as a PDF, print it out, take a screen capture. I don't care what you do, but you want to have that job posting. Like, really, keep a pile of them. What I do is I make a PDF of the job posting and then I save them in a folder by the name of the position and the date I applied so I can go back and look at it. Trust me, it really doesn't sound good when you go into the interview and say, I haven't seen that job announcement in a couple weeks, or I called HR and they couldn't give it to me. If you call HR and ask them, human resources, to send you a job posting, you are not going to get the job. I will almost guarantee it. That is not what they want to see. So job posting is really critical. Grab it as soon as you see it. It may never be there again. Second thing, look at the website. Look at who's in there about us. Look at what they do. Look at who some of their customers are if they list it, what their products are, what their services are. And also look at their blogs because that's where they're giving their point of view, and you can usually gather some information from that about how they see the world, how they see issues. And then press releases. Now, admittedly, this might be me as a former journalist. I use press releases, and press releases are statements from a company about something they're doing or trying to do. You want to look at those press releases. I've been on several interviews where I've actually read press releases that the person I was interviewing had never seen before. They're like, where'd you hear about that? Like, there's a press release on your website. Oh, when we get done, can you show that to me? So if ever I get a press release that's from the last 30 days, I will actually print a copy out and take it in my portfolio to the interview. So if the person says, where'd you see that? I can hand them a copy. You want to talk about really increasing your value to someone? Think about it. You're the person who gave that person information about their company. They work there and they don't know it. And you not only know the information, but gave it to them so they can gather it. You don't think that increases your value to be hired, your possibilities for that company? And then third, LinkedIn. If you haven't been to LinkedIn, LinkedIn is a gold mine. Many companies have a LinkedIn site. a page that's dedicated to their company. You can also see who works for their company on LinkedIn, which can be really valuable. You can see if you know anyone that works there, and you can ask them about the company. That can be really insightful. You can also ask people you know just in general, hey, does anyone know about this company? I live in Baltimore, Maryland, and Under Armour is a big company. You may have heard of them. I just had someone about 2 weeks ago ask me, hey, do you know anyone at Under Armour? I just want to understand more about Under Armour. I also, when I was teaching college not that long ago, I have a relative who works for Amazon. And one of my students was interviewing with Amazon for a pretty high-level job, and I connected the two of them. And so my relative explained to this guy how Amazon does their questions, and it was really helpful to this guy. He said he really aced the interview because he had what he felt was like insider information. So asking people doesn't hurt. If they say, oh, I don't know anything about the company, I've never heard of it, no big deal. But you'd be surprised how many times someone knows something that can be really useful. So again, get to know that company. You need to know that company. Now you may say, well, I'm not going to do that research because I don't even know if I'm going to work for them. Why would I waste this time? I will tell you this, the person who's going to get the job is the person who does this research. Getting a job takes time and effort, and this is part of that effort. You've got to commit to this. This is like a job. Going through interviewing, trying to get hired for a new job is like doing a second job. And it may take that much time. It could take 5, 10, 15, 20 hours in a week if you're really serious about it. So if you think you're just going to shoot off a cover letter and a resume and just bop in for an interview and get the job, I can already tell you that's why you're not acing the job interview process. Okay? Other things you can do, you can learn about the people who are doing the hiring. Who's actually doing the hiring? What's that director's role? What's that manager's role? How long have they worked at the company? Where did they go to school? What's their background? Have they been at the company for 10 years or 10 months? You can look at the website to see about these people. Maybe they wrote a blog when they hired the person. Maybe they posted a press release when they hired that person. And if you can figure out who that person is, you can go to LinkedIn. Sound familiar? It's the same list as the last one, right? You're looking on LinkedIn at the actual person or people who are doing the hiring. You can also ask people you know if they know anything about that person or people. That can be really helpful. And you can call the office or the HR department and ask, hey, I have an interview Tuesday. I just wanted to know how many people are going to be involved in that interview, and can you tell me the people and their titles so that I can be prepared? And most jobs, they're willing to provide you that information. But don't do it the night before. Don't do it like that morning. You want to do that like a week in advance. Or even better, when they're calling you to schedule the interview or emailing you, ask at that time. And you may say, well, I'm not comfortable asking. What if they say no? If they say no, that's fine. Nothing's hurt, nothing's harmed by asking. It will not hurt you, I promise, okay? And then here are a couple more things, and this is really, you can see a theme here, I think. You want to get into their heads. You want to get into the heads of the people doing the hiring. You need to think like them. Think like that person, those people. What questions would you ask if you were doing the hiring for that job? Show the ad to other people and ask them to weigh in. What would they ask? And what are the things about your candidacy that would jump out? And you need to have answers ready. So for instance, in a roughly 30-year career for me, I think I've actually worked at 12, 13, maybe even 14 different jobs. So when you look at my resume, you're going to see a whole bunch of different jobs. And you're going to say, boy, this guy jumps around a lot. So I have an answer for that. When they're looking at my resume and I can see them going through and being like, wow, that's a lot of jobs. Wow, that's a lot of jobs. Before they can even ask me a question or think about it, I say, you're probably looking at my resume and saying, wow, he's been to a lot of jobs. Can I trust this guy? Is this guy is he invested in what we're doing if we hire him? I'll answer it two ways. One way is, if you want to talk to any of those people at any of those jobs, I left all those jobs under great circumstances to go to something that was more challenging And in in every case, I could give you the phone number of the person right now. You could call on my cell phone and they would tell you that they would hire me back in a minute. That's one way to answer that. Another way I've answered that is to say, you're looking at all those jobs I've had and you're probably going, boy, this guy's a real flight risk. But what I would tell you is, think about it the other way. You're getting a guy who's worked at all those jobs. How much information, how much can I bring to your company because of all those experiences? You'd have to hire 3, 4, 5, 6 people to get all those experiences, and you're getting it with this one guy right here, right now. How great is that for you? I said that to a guy one time at an interview about 10 years ago, and he said, that is the best answer I've ever heard to an interview question, and we didn't even ask you the question. Now, they offered me the job, big surprise, because I confronted the issue. So if there's a gap in your resume for like a year or 2 years, you better be ready to answer it. You gotta come up with something. And I would tell you the truth will set you free. So don't lie. If you are having some sort of health issue, just be honest about it. If you were, you took a gap year to go after college or between jobs, just, hey, I took a year to sort of figure out who I was and what I was, and now I'm back, and I really have a much deeper understanding of myself, and I'm ready to get into the work world. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't lie about it. Short and sweet and to the point, but confront it. Know what you're going to say to those things. And I'm amazed at how many people have these issues that are going to come up with their candidacy, and they don't even think about it. And then the last question I would ask you to think about is, what should you tell them that's not on paper? And more importantly, how do you tell it to them quickly and effectively? We have a resume, and our resume tells us what technical things we've done. It's a list, right, of all the jobs we've had and our responsibilities. And we have a cover letter where we can sort of jump in a little bit more deeply into who and what we are and what we're excited about. But the interview is your time to give context. It's your time to get emotional, to make them feel you, to understand you, to get a feel for why you tick, what you tick about, what's interesting to you, why this matters to you, why did you apply. And if you're just applying because I saw the ad, don't waste their time and don't waste your time. You're not going to get hired. If you're applying for a job, you want to have some sort of passion, either a passion for the company, for what it does for your career, it's the next logical step, or for how they help people. But if you're just throwing resumes out there for jobs, I can tell you right now, you're not going to be successful. Okay? Sorry to be the guy who rains on the parade, but you need to hear it because you're tilting at windmills if you think you're going to be successful if you don't care about the employer. I've got a little bit of a surprise for you here. I've been talking about how to be a great interviewer, how to do the interview process, and I wanted to go a little deeper. I wanted to give you a little surprise bonus. You've listened to me for about 37 minutes, so I figured I'd give you some added information, some things I've learned from my own experiences and from talking to other people and coaching people. So here we go. Okay, sound good? To be a great interviewee, know where you're going. Like, know where their office is before you get there. Don't get there like 5 minutes late because you took the wrong stop on the metro or because you didn't find parking. I usually do a dry run like on a weekday to see how to get to that place and know what the traffic issues are and how long will it actually take me. And then I give it an extra 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes. It's great to get there 10 or 15 minutes early. Go in, introduce yourself, tell the person at the reception desk or wherever, I'm early for an interview. I'm about 10 minutes early for an interview at 10 o'clock. Is it okay if I just sit here and wait? That's telling them don't make the person get up and leave what they're doing because that really annoys them. And it also gives you a chance to sit there and look how the organization operates. You'd be amazed at what you can find in a waiting room about an organization. Who comes in? How many phone calls do they get? Does the receptionist or front office person know people by name? Are they cordial or are they friendly? Do they look like they're having fun? Or does everyone look like they're working in a sweatshop? I want to know that before I go through an interview. And you want to dress appropriately. Appropriately means consistent with whatever that organization wears or what people in the role like you would have with that organization wear. So if they wear suits or dresses or skirts, that's what you're going to wear. And you need to find that out in advance. That's why I do that dry run a day before, a couple days before. And I'll look at the parking lot. I'll look at people leaving the building, and I'll see what they're wearing. Are they wearing jeans and a dress shirt, a polo shirt and khakis, shirt and tie, skirts, nice pants, and are they wearing high heels? Each company is its own, and there's no other way to find that information. You can call the HR person and ask them what would be appropriate dress, but often I find they are not very good at this. So do your own homework, okay? And know that and dress appropriately, because if you come in wearing jeans and everyone else is in a shirt and tie, you're going to stand out like a sore thumb, and you're not going to get hired. Same for women. If you are wearing a t-shirt and a jeans skirt and everyone else is wearing really nice blouses and pencil skirts, yes, I know what a pencil skirt is, then you're going to stand out in a negative way. So dress appropriately. Know what that looks like. Okay? Making sense so far, hopefully? I'll keep going. You want to be polite. If they take you into a conference room, ask where they would like you to sit or point to a seat. May I sit here? And they say, yes, you may. Thank you very much. Why do I say that? Because if you go into the conference room, sit at the head of the table, and the CEO comes in there and he always sits at the head of the table, you have already caused yourself a problem. Okay? You may think it's a little thing, but little things add up. And above all, be polite. Be polite. Say please and thank you. Be respectful. They are taking time out of their busy day to invest in you by going through an interview with you. They're not required to meet with you. So respect and honor that. When you meet each person, say your name, say their name. Hi, John, I'm Bob. Nice to meet you. And shake hands powerfully with every person. If you shake hands with one person, you should shake hands with all of them. Every man, every woman. You do not want to only shake hands with the guys. You do not only want to talk to the women. You want to be, it doesn't matter. Be universal. Whatever you do for one, do for all of them. Okay? And when I say a powerful handshake, I mean don't be a fish. Shake hands. Don't break their fingers, but be strong, be confident. If you don't know what that looks like, go to some of your friends and shake hands and ask them if it's a powerful handshake. They will tell you. Okay? Next one. Direct your attention to the person who's asking the question. If you're in a room with 3 or 4, or one time I was in a room with 6 different people interviewing me at the same time, I had to figure out how to handle it. If someone asked me a question, I would say, that's a great question, John, and I would look primarily at John as I answered his question. I might look over a little bit at the other people just to gauge are they paying attention, but mostly I would direct my attention to John. And if I felt during the interview like I was spending too much attention, paying attention to maybe the ranking person in the room, the manager or whoever, I would actually say to the people who were to my side, I'm so sorry. I haven't been looking at you enough. I apologize. It's very rude of me. To show them I realize that I'm not paying as much attention. And then at the interview, thank everyone that you talked to for their time. From the CEO that you met with, to the colleagues, to the person at the front desk. Be genuinely thankful for the time. They are investing in you. The payoff to them is not that huge in many cases. So be respectful. Thank them. Be gracious. Be polite. And also, as I think about it, make sure that you realize the minute you get into their parking lot or on their property, maybe even a block or two away from them, you are a potential interviewee. Someone that you might meet with could be at the coffee shop down the street. So if you yell at the coffee person because they didn't make your triple latte correctly, the odds are the person standing right behind you in line is going to be in the interview, and they're already going to know all they need to know about you. and you will not recover from that. Same thing as if you're in an organization, you're meeting with them, and you go to the bathroom, and someone is in the bathroom, and they say, oh, you must be interviewing. How's it going? It's going great. That's it. Don't tell them, oh, I totally screwed up, or I can't believe how long this is going, or I hate the room I'm in, I'm so cold, or I'm so nervous. Do not say anything like that, because it will get back to the people who are hiring. I guarantee it. Companies actually will put people in those situations. They will take someone and say, hey, go into the men's room and talk to him to see if they can get negative information, because they're trying to size you up. So recognize from the moment you get within about a block of their location, you are being interviewed. So don't do anything to hurt your chances. Don't call your spouse, your significant other, your friend as you're walking out the door and say, oh my God, these guys are such jerks, but they pay so well, so I'll take the job if they offer it. Because I guarantee someone standing there will hear you, and they're going to tell it to the people doing the hiring, and you'll have lost the job. This happens all the time. So really focus on that. You are being interviewed all over the place, like from a block away. Now, after the interview, often in an interview, we make a promise or promises like, oh, I'll send you a copy of that report I did for the company, or yeah, I'll get you 3 references. Whatever you promised, do it. Do it. Not most, but many people that I've interviewed do not comply with their promise. What does that say? You make this promise, I'll have that information to you by 4 o'clock today. You better have it to me by 4 o'clock today, because I'm looking at my watch at 3:59 going, where is it? And if it comes at 5 after 4, you've already dug yourself a hole. Make sense? Next, you want to follow up with a handwritten note sent in the mail. Yes, I mean like put a stamp on an envelope, find their address, and mail it to them. Why do I say that? First of all, emailing from the parking lot while it's quick and convenient says nothing. It really doesn't say anything to me. I'm sorry. Now, maybe I'm old. I will concede that I'm old. But I have not heard anyone, old or young, not say that a handwritten note that reaches them 2, 3, 4 days after the interview has real value. And in that handwritten note, you want to give them some personal information, some insight, something beyond thank you for interviewing me, Bob. Okay? So it should be handwritten. It should say more than that. In a couple minutes, I'll explain to you some things, and we'd actually talk about that in more detail. And whatever you do after the interview, do not pester them. They are busy people. If they don't call you on Friday and they said they were going to call you on Friday, do not start calling them Friday at noon and all day Monday and all day Tuesday. I cannot tell you how annoying it is when people call and call and call to find out where they are in the process. Sit and wait. Often what happens is someone was scheduled for an interview and there's a problem that comes up. Someone on the interview committee just couldn't make it. They had a personal emergency, so the interview that was supposed to happen the next day doesn't happen, and by the time it reschedules, it's a week or two later. Don't pester them. Again, you've done all this work to get interviewed, to get to the process, and these are the things that can really hurt you. Not doing what you said you promised to do and pestering them are two killers of, even if you had a great interview, you cannot overcome those things. Okay, so let me do a little quick review. We've been talking about how you need to think like the person or people who are doing the hiring, right? You want to get in their heads. You want to recognize that they're busy and that they're trying to get a good candidate that supports what they're trying to do. You want to be checkbox friendly, right? Checkbox friendly. Think about that checkbox. And then I gave you some tips for preparing and executing the perfect interview. So we've covered a lot of ground right now, and you may be saying, boy, I don't know if I can execute all this. You've thrown a lot at me. Well, let's go through this logically. First of all, you want to write down a new process. I would like to think that what we've been talking about here would spark some ideas for you about how you can do better. That's been my goal. So what is that new process? If that new process is a week before the interview or 2 days before the interview, I've got to spend an hour or 2 hours investigating the company and the people that are doing the hiring, write that down. That's part of your new process. If it's, I've got to get there 10 minutes early because I'm never early, that's part of your process. If it's, I'm going to go do a dry run on Sunday to see if I can find where their offices are and know how much traffic there is and where I need to park, that's part of your new process. Second thing is get back up in the saddle. A lot of the people who are on this webinar probably have gotten dejected and frustrated with the interviewing process. And so rather than fight the fire, go to battle again, they've just given up. They're going to stick at their job or they're going to stay unemployed. I think the information I've provided here to you gives you a way to say, I can go forward. If you agree with that, type Y in the chat box to the right. Okay, great. Wow, that was fast. Lots of Ys. Okay, good. Got to get back up in the saddle. That's why I'm doing this, is to get you back up in the saddle, to get you to a place where you're confident and ready to go do that job interview and really ace it. And then the third thing is you want to develop stories about your experience. I talked about how I dealt with the situation where I've had a lot of different jobs. I developed a story that makes that really compelling, right? Which brings me to my next point. I have a special offer for you, and it's about telling a story that gets you hired. And I didn't have time in this webinar to talk about telling a story. It's a little more complicated, and it permeates every aspect from the cover letter to the resume to how you interview. And I just didn't have time to cover all that. But I do have an online course that I want to make available to you. So let me talk about this online course. And if you're going, oh, what's the special offer? It's going to be deeply discounted. So this is really worth paying attention to. And this is going to take your job search to the next level. This is going to make a huge difference. So if you're saying, wow, I love what you're telling me and I want to go deeper, here's your chance. So telling a story that gets you hired, this online course, we're going to talk about identifying skills employers want to see, explaining those skills in powerful ways. It's not just about what skills they're looking for. It's communicating them in powerful ways that the key is making you more memorable. That's what this is all about. That's what this course is really about. When push comes to shove, it's about being more memorable. How can you be more memorable? Because if they interview 5 people, you want to be the one that they remember the way you want to be remembered, in a way that gets you the job, right? You don't want to be the woman with red shoes or the guy who was constantly sneezing. That's not going to get you a job. You want to be the person remembered for, wow, he's got such great experience. Or here's one that worked at that camp, and that really translates to what we're doing at this job. So part 1 of the online course is going to be skills employers want, which is talking about soft skills. I told you earlier that I'm an expert on soft skills. Well, here's where they really come out to play and where I really offer you some value about what soft skills employers are looking for and why they matter, with some real research about this, like cutting edge research that we've published in academic journals and written a book about. And then finding your soft skills strengths. How can you know which soft skills are your strengths and which ones the employers are looking for? Making that connection. How do you do that? That's what we talk about in part 1 of this course. In part 2, it's about building a resume to remember. Strategies for highlighting your strengths in the resume. How can you put your best foot forward in the resume? So many people do what I would call sleepwalking through the resume. They just, well, I worked at this job from then to then, and these were my responsibilities. That's not good enough. I'll explain to you strategies for how you can do a whole lot better. It's about matching your experience to the posting. We'll talk about how you can do that matching up process. And then there's some simple tweaks to your resume that can make a big, big impact. Like, you're not going to believe how simple it is. Okay? So that's part 2. And then part 3 is writing a killer cover letter. And I've taught this to college students for years, and the college students are always amazed at how easy this formula is, this 3-paragraph cover letter formula, and it's worked for any job. I mean, I'm talking hundreds of people have used it, and they've all gotten jobs with it. And they've used it over and over and over. And what it does is it adds an emotional appeal to your candidacy. And it's all about emotion. We know from marketing research that all buying decisions are based on emotion. So you want to create an emotional appeal. And then it also, this cover letter entices them, right? Enticing, encourage them, getting them to dig deeper. Digging deeper like look at your resume. Dig deeper like call you in for an interview. That's the goal of this cover letter formula that I've created, that I use and that hundreds of people have used with great success. So that's part 3. And then part 4 is about telling powerful stories in that interview. Shaping your experiences into powerful statements. Powerful statements. Statements that make them go, wow, this person would be, I want this person to come work with us. They start seeing you in that job before you've even left the room. It's about building a case for hiring you. You build the case for hiring you that they actually use. And then the third part is the power of 3s. We'll talk about the power of 3s and how it makes interviewing so much easier. It's a little complicated. That's why I didn't cover it today. But believe me, it will make the interviewing process. It works with the cover letter and it helps with the resume. It really brings us all together. So here are the 4 parts. And you may say, well, how much is this worth? And I would say that the skills employers want, we're doing training. I've done training where we're charging $1,500 or more to organizations to train them on the skills that employers want and that employees need to have. And the resume, I said, I've charged anywhere from $200 to $500 for resumes. And the last one I did that I charged for was about 2 years ago, and that was, I think, $700. I rounded down to $350. But resumes can cost you $1,000. I know people that'll charge $1,000 for a good resume. And a cover letter could be $200. I've seen cover letter writers charge $400, $500. But I wanted to be conservative here. And then that telling powerful stories, easily worth $400. No doubt in my mind. So when you add all that up, you get $2,450 worth of value in this course. And I would tell you, that's a college course. That's the cost of a college course at most of the state schools. And that's exactly what this could be. This could be a college course, but it's going to take you about an hour and a half to go through this online course. So you're getting that whole college course that could cost you that time, and you go once a week for 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 weeks, and you pay the tuition, and you got to park, and you got to leave your life to go to that course. You're going to get this online course that you can look at on your tablet, on your phone, on your computer, at work, at home. I don't recommend doing it at work, but you can access it anywhere you want. So that value is $2,450, but I'm going to make this course available for you $299 because I understand your situation. You want to get a job. You're probably either really frustrated with your current job or you don't have a job. So asking you to spend $2,500, while it would be great for me, isn't the right answer. So $299. That's a bargain. I mean, look at that. That's cheaper than the price of 3 of those 4 components. And I got to tell you, that killer cover letter formula is worth its weight in gold. Truly. So that's what the price is. But wait, I'm going to go a step further. I'm really committed to your success here. I hope you've seen that in what I've been describing now for almost an hour. I really want you to be successful. So I'm going to take all the pressure off you. $129 for all this in this online course. That's next to nothing. I mean, you figure over the course of a month, you spend that in coffee at Starbucks probably. And what's the value? We haven't even talked about the value here. The value is you do this course, you get the job you want, and you get paid more money, and it catapults you into a whole new career strata where you're getting jobs as a leader, you're running groups, you're running organizations. You could make thousands and thousands and thousands more dollars because you get the job, because you use these things I'm going to teach you. So that $129 sounds really good, doesn't it? So if you're ready to jump, it's time to enroll now. You can enroll at serioussoftskills.com/story. serioussoftskills.com/story. You're going to get all this. You'll get immediate access to the courses. There's also a workbook that will be available in that. I didn't even put that in here, but there's a workbook that helps you. Again, that's $129. You can't go wrong for that, truly. Think about the value. Think about if you get a new job, if you make $1,000 more at that new job, you're only paying what? 12.9% to me of that $1,000. That's a pretty good deal. So I wanted to give you some testimonials because you're probably wondering about me, and so I wanted to give you these testimonials. First of all, this is from someone named Ari. I've been using your cover letter and the other, he means cover letter formula, the other information about job interviews and preparation for several years. It never fails. Thank you. Ari's not kidding. It's never failed me, and apparently it doesn't fail Ari, who's off really kicking it in his career. Last I heard, he was like a regional VP for a big company up in the Midwest, just knocking it out of the ballpark. And I know that cover letter helped him get there because he's told me so, and I've done references for him. I know this one's a little smaller, so I'm going to read it to you. This is from Katie. This is early in her career. Bob really shifted the way I view the interview process. He helped me to better communicate the value I offer an employer and their organization. Before, I was always leaving interviews feeling like I hadn't clearly articulated what I can bring to the table, how I can solve the employer's problems at hand. With Bob's consultation, so she means with the course, I gained confidence in my ability to effectively communicate the value I can add to the company. And that's the key. The ability to effectively communicate the value I can add to the company. And then she goes on to say, when I interviewed, I could demonstrate the unique skills and qualities I offered and showed the positive addition I'd be to the company. This resulted in a job offer. Highly recommend. Again, this resulted in a job offer. Why did it result in a job offer? Because she explained how she could provide value to that company. That's what companies are looking for. They want value, right? They want value. And if you can show them how you're going to deliver value, they're going to want to hire you. Okay, we've got a little time for questions. So I want to ask a couple of questions, or I'm sorry, I don't want to ask a couple of questions. I've got some questions in the chat box that I want to answer. Michael says, can I get that course on my Mac computer? Yes, it's Mac friendly, it's PC friendly, it works on any. If you can download an MP4, which is a movie file, you can see this course. If you can open a PDF, you can open the workbook. Great question. Thank you, Michael. Next question is from Brittany. I hope I'm saying that right. It's got an extra E. I'm not sure if it's Brittany or Brittany. I'm going to say Brittany. Brittany's question is, will this work for any career or is it specific to certain jobs? Great question, Brittany or Brittany. The answer is it works across the board. I've worked with people who are applying to manufacturing jobs, and I've worked with people who have worked in warehouses. I've worked with people who have applied to the big four companies like Accenture and KPMG and Deloitte. And what I'm explaining here works with all of them. I've built this with the idea that it's uniform. Okay? Next question is from it looks like Yasi. I hope I'm not mispronouncing that. Yasi is asking a question. I'm not really good at interviewing. Will this make a difference? Well, that's what this is all about. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make you good at interviewing. I'm trying to make you be able to be successful in this process. It frustrates me that the people who are successful in the job prospect or in the job search process are the ones who get the job, even if they're not technically qualified. I didn't tell you this story before, but I'll tell you now. I used to teach a course where we did mock interviews and students would interview each other. So a group of 5 students would interview another group of 5 students. And we would have generic jobs like a manager. And the 5 people would have to apply for that job. Whether it fit their career, their college track, their employment history, didn't matter. They had to apply to that job. That was the requirement. So they had to figure out a way to do that. And then they had to interview. And they had to answer questions about this job. And they were thrown all these questions. Every single time at the end of that process, so the 5 people interviewed the 5 people in the class. And at the end of that process, the 5 people that did the interview would pick the best candidate, the person they would offer that job to. Every single time, the person they picked was the person who had the best interview, not the person who was most qualified. So what I'm saying is there was a person who was perfectly qualified to be the manager and they applied, and someone who had never done management before interviewed as well and applied, and the person who had never been a manager got the committee to say, we would hire this person. And I'd ask why, and they'd say, they just killed the interview. They answered all our questions. They really thought about them. They really made us think. They just brought something to the interview that the other people didn't. So if you're saying, does this interview process matter? Think about it. The person who wasn't qualified for the job would have been offered the job because of what they said and how they said it in the interview process. And by the way, the reason the person was so good at that in all those cases is because I taught this same stuff. But since then, I've refined it even more, and I continue to refine it. Okay, I'm going to take one more question. Last question of the day. Better be a good one. So let me see what I have here. Let me scroll through these. Okay, this is a good question. I really don't think I can put myself through another interview. It's so embarrassing. It's so frustrating. I feel so small and so insignificant when I leave an interview. Would this course help me? The answer to that is absolutely. This course would help you profoundly because the whole premise of this course is finding the parts of you, both inside you and from your experience, that will resonate with that employer. We're playing a match game. We're trying to find the pieces of you, whatever that is, that the employer will say, whoa, that's great. We want that. That's what we're trying to do. That's what this whole course is built around. So yes, if you feel insignificant, if you feel small after an interview, if you feel like you're not worthy, I get it. I've been there. And I've talked to countless other people who feel the same way. This can overcome that through talking, through storytelling, through getting your experience and using your experience as a tool to get them to make an emotional response, to get them to care about you. Like when this works really well, they're going to care about you so much that they're going to want to offer you the job as you walk out of that room. You're going to walk out, and if you were in the room after you left, they're going to be like, okay, we don't need to do any more searching. We found the person. That's what I'm trying to do. That's the goal here. That's what we're working on. Now, I want to give you a bonus. I think it's a no-brainer already, but I'm going to go one step further. The cover letter template, that formula I put together that I explained in the course, if you enroll within the next 24 hours, I'm going to give you that cover letter template in a Microsoft Word document, an Open Office document, and an Apple Pages document. Then you'll have the template. All you have to do is literally plug in the information and you're good to go. So I'm going to save you a whole bunch of typing and you're good to go. I mean, it's 1, 2, 3. I show you this formula in the course. I walk through it, but I've never made available the actual template. So you're getting something really special here. So that template, if you were on the fence, that template, you just save that thing and you just call it up and you apply to the next job. And in 6 months or 3 years when you're applying for another job, you pull that template up, you update it to the job, and boom, you're good to go. So again, that Telling a Story That Gets You Hired online course that you can access on a Mac, on a PC, on your tablet, on your phone, you name it, it's $129. That's a super bargain. The more I look at that, the more I wonder what I was thinking. But that's a real bargain here today. Okay? So I don't want you to miss out. So make sure you get this course. I can't offer this forever. Okay? And so if you want to enroll, you need to go to serioussoftskills.com/story. If you've been thinking, I'm just not really good at interviewing, I don't know what to say, I don't know how to put together the right materials, I don't know how to dig into this, this is really scary, or you haven't done it in a couple of years. You know, this is like anything. If you don't run for 6 months, you can't go out and run a marathon. This is a muscle you have to exercise. If that muscle of preparing for job interviews, of doing your resume, of doing your cover letter, if that muscle memory is gone, this is a way to bring it back. This is a way to really jumpstart, ignite your career. If you're thinking, there's a job out there, I keep applying to these jobs, I know they're perfect for me, but I'm not getting a call. They're not interviewing me. Or they're interviewing me and I'm not even getting to the second round. Or worse, they interviewed me twice, 3 times. I spent a day with them and I didn't get the job offer. If you fit into any of these categories, that $129 is so well spent to get you back on that horse, back on the saddle, back on that track to getting the job you want. That job you've been dreaming of. Moving your career in new directions. It's all available to you, but the first step is you've got to buy this course. So go to serioussoftskills.com/story, get the course, get that template, and start rocking and rolling with your career. Acing the Job Interview and so much more. Okay? Thank you for your time. Thank you for your interest. I look forward to seeing you in that course and helping you get your career rocking and rolling. Okay? Thank you.